Chapter 13, the activation formula and motivation. Chapter 13 starts out by talking about several of the reasons, actually 10 reasons why execution typically fails in organizations. What we know is that execution and strategy typically do fail, and it's almost unfortunate that so much money, time, and effort is put into developing strategies that ultimately fail. The question is, why does that happen? And it's really because we look at strategy as being an event, something that a bunch of people go off-site and they develop a strategy. The goal is to create a strategic plan, and many times they do that. But the goal is not necessarily to fulfill an organization's potential. If we look at a strategic platform or a strategic planning retreat as an opportunity to develop and fulfill our potential, the activities we take, the focus we take will be much different. So when we look at strategy as being an event, and sometimes it's annual, sometimes it's every other year, it's basically doomed for failure. What we really need to be doing is look at strategy as an exercise that complements our execution and fulfills our potential and really links together our culture. So strategy needs to be looked at differently, and that's what the 10 reasons why execution fail, that's what they outline in the book. And then we move into the activation formula. And you recall from chapter 3 when we introduced earned success, what we did here in chapter 13 was we developed a formula. And the formula is called the activation formula, and it is earned success equals expectations times evidence plus carrot times connection. So those four components or those four variables represent the activation formula. Now the activation formula by its name appears as though we're trying to activate something, but the reality is it's creating sustained motivation, and that's what we want to do inside an organization. We want to create sustained motivation so that we can accomplish our outcomes, so that we can fulfill our potential. And this really builds our culture, and strategy is the platform to do that. So if we look at each one of these variables, the first one, expectations. We need to have really clear expectations. Fortunately, the strategy whiteboard already has this built in, and that's called the business objective. It's also called your strategic outcomes. These areas or these parts of the strategy whiteboard just are moved right into the expectation component of the activation formula. And then we move into evidence, and that's creating a clear process for tracking our progress towards our expectations. That's a blendification dashboard or your dashboard or a regular report, something that you're tracking against your expectations. How are we doing? And then we move into carrot, and that carrot, we could have called that compensation, but it's really more than financial compensation. Carrot is what motivates people. We want to know what motivates people. We want to know why people are doing something, and then we want to track our success and our expectations against that. We want to make sure that's part of the conversation, that carrot. And then the final variable is connection. I also could have used communication in this. So we actually spend time talking about how we're doing towards our expectations. And it might be your one-to-ones, it might be regular team meetings, it might be group meetings, it might be meetings that just pop up. The key here is that we have to connect on this through a structured communication process. Fortunately, the strategy whiteboard and the blendification system has all of this stuff already built in. And that whole model comes to life in chapter 14 when you get into that. So that's where connection is really outlined in a step-by-step, meeting by meeting, almost conversation by conversation process.